Think about walking into a freezing cold bedroom on Christmas morning. Your breath makes clouds in the air. The only warm spot in the whole house is downstairs near the single heater. This was normal life for kids growing up in Britain during the 1960s. Christmas back then wasn't like today. Nobody had fancy heating systems. Plastic toys weren't everywhere yet. Kids didn't get tablets or phones. Everything felt more basic, but also more real. If you were a child in that time, certain experiences stick with you forever. The way things smelled, tasted, and felt made Christmas special in ways that are hard to explain to people who weren't there. Let me tell you about what made those Christmases unforgettable. Every family had a paraffin heater sitting in the corner. Most houses only had one coal fireplace in the main room, so this portable heater became essential for survival during winter. The thing gave off a strong smell, kind of oily and chemical, that got into everything. Your clothes smelled like it. The curtains absorbed it. When visitors came to your house, they knew right away you had one of these heaters running. On Christmas morning, you'd rush downstairs still wearing your pajamas. The bedroom had been ice cold all night. You'd head straight for that heater and crouch down next to it, putting your hands near the orange glow behind the metal grill. Your dad would light it carefully, adjusting something called the wick and using a match. Black smoke would pour out at first until the flame settled down and turned blue. Then that familiar smell would fill the room. Parents worried these heaters might tip over and spill burning fuel on the floor. Teachers at school talked about some danger called carbon monoxide, though nobody really understood what that meant. But every single house had at least one of these heaters, sometimes two. When your whole family gathered on Christmas Day, that heater worked extra hard trying to warm everyone up. It couldn't heat more than a few feet away, but it did its best. Now let me tell you about the paper decorations. Before you could hang those colorful paper chains across your ceiling, you had to make them yourself. This meant licking strips of paper one by one. The glue on them tasted horrible, bitter and like chemicals. Your tongue would feel weird and thick after doing this for a while. But you kept going because seeing those chains meant Christmas was really here. Some families bought packs of pre-cut strips from Woolworths with dried glue already on them. Other families couldn't afford that, so they cut up newspaper into ribbons and used homemade paste that smelled like yeast and stuck to your fingers. Either way, the job was the same. You'd lick one strip, loop it through the last one, press it closed, then repeat. Over and over for hours. Your tongue went numb. Your jaw got tired. But slowly your living room changed. Red chains connected to green ones, green to yellow, yellow back to red. They'd crisscross on the ceiling in patterns that made the whole room look magical. When you finally finished and stepped back, your hands were sticky and your mouth felt dry, but you felt proud. You built Christmas yourself with your own effort. Those chains would start sagging by New Year's. By the 12th night of Christmas, someone would take them down. Sometimes they came down in one long piece, sometimes in bits. But for those couple weeks, they hung there proving something important. Christmas didn't just come from stores. It came from hard work, from family working together, and from patience. Modern decorations that you just buy and hang up can't match that feeling. The Christmas pudding tradition was dangerous by today's standards. Inside that heavy, dark dessert was a silver sixpence coin. Your parents would bring out the pudding, pour brandy over it, and light it on fire. Blue flames would flicker in the dim room while everyone watched. Somewhere in that hot, dense pudding was the coin, maybe wrapped in paper if you were lucky, maybe just loose in there if you weren't. Everyone knew the rule without anyone saying it out loud. Whoever bit into the coin would have good luck for the whole next year. But finding it meant eating very slowly and carefully. If you bit down hard on that metal coin, you could crack your tooth. Kids would chew each bite cautiously, checking everything in their mouth. Adults acted like they didn't care about finding it, but they watched their plates just as closely. When someone finally did bite into it, that weird metal taste mixing with the fruit and brandy flavor, they'd yell out. It was like winning something. They'd hold up that coin, all sticky and warm, while everyone else finished eating feeling disappointed. For one night, that sixpence became more valuable than money could buy. It meant you'd been chosen as lucky. These days, people would never hide a choking hazard in food. But back then, danger was just part of growing up. Christmas pudding without that hidden coin wasn't real Christmas. It was just regular dessert. Right after Christmas in 1962, something extreme happened. Snow started falling on Boxing Day and didn't quit. By the time New Year arrived, Britain was completely buried under snow. Fences in gardens disappeared under huge drifts. Milk bottles left on doorsteps froze solid. The bitter cold settled in and stayed for 3 whole months. For kids, this was amazing. Schools had to close. Streets became perfect for sledding. You could actually walk on top of frozen rivers and ponds, something nobody alive had ever seen before. Kids built snowmen taller than their parents. Making igloos became a serious project. You'd stay outside all day long, soaking wet and freezing, grinning the whole time, until your fingers couldn't feel anything anymore and your mom finally dragged you back inside. But for adults, those months were awful. Trucks couldn't deliver coal because roads were blocked. Water pipes burst from the cold. Factories had to shut down. The entire country basically stopped working and just tried to stay warm. Christmas became a battle against freezing temperatures. But people helped each other out. Neighbors shared whatever coal they had. Complete strangers helped dig cars out of the snow. And on Christmas Day, even with snow piled up against the windows, families still sat down together. The fire burned in the fireplace. The paraffin heater glowed in the corner. For a few hours, nothing outside mattered. Inside with your family, Christmas still happened. Maybe quieter than usual, definitely colder, but just as real. Christmas morning always brought annuals. These were big hardback books wrapped in bright wrapping paper. Boys got the Beano or the Dandy. Girls got Bunty. They were heavy books that smelled like fresh ink when you opened them. You'd rip off the wrapping, run your fingers over the shiny cover, and know the next few days belonged to you and those pages. Each annual felt like treasure. Dennis the Menace smiled on the Beano cover, looking like trouble. Desperate Dan on the Dandy cover ate his cow pie and showed off his strength. Bunty had stories about boarding schools, mysteries, and adventures that seemed exciting and different from everyday life. You didn't just read these books. You ate them up, cover to cover, sometimes reading them twice, lying on your stomach by the fire while the house got quiet around you. The jokes, the comic strips, the puzzles at the back, every page was its own little world and you lived completely inside it. These annuals weren't throwaway items. You kept them, treasured them, read them again and again until the spine-broken pages started falling out. Years later, you'd discover them in a cupboard, faded and worn out. But that ink smell would instantly bring everything back. Not just the stories themselves, but the feeling. The feeling of having time, of having absolutely nothing to do except read, of Christmas seeming to last forever. Selection boxes were actual physical boxes back then. Made of cardboard, solid and sturdy. Shaped like a Christmas stocking or a chimney. They had a little window on the front so you could see the chocolate bars inside. Full-sized bars too, real chocolate, not those tiny versions you get now. An aunt or a neighbor would give you one, maybe two if you got lucky. Holding it in your hands felt like winning a prize. Inside, stacked neatly, were chocolate bars everyone recognized. A Milky Bar, a Kit Kat, a Crunchy, maybe a Fry's chocolate cream or a Dairy Milk. Actual chocolate bars, not little samples. The boxes had games printed on the back too. Snakes and ladders, word puzzles, mazes. You'd play them with your brothers and sisters, fighting over whose turn it was, while chocolate wrappers piled up everywhere. After you ate all the chocolate, the box didn't get thrown away. It became useful, a treasure chest, a storage container, something practical. Nothing went to waste. Television shows created huge crazes for certain toys. In 1963, Doctor Who showed up on TV. With it came the Daleks, weird metal creatures that slid across the screen yelling "Exterminate" in voices that made kids hide behind the sofa. By Christmas, every boy wanted a Dalek toy. Toy stores couldn't keep them in stock. That same year brought Cindy, Britain's version of Barbie but better. More like a normal girl instead of a Hollywood star. She had a bob haircut and a striped shirt. Every girl wanted one because Cindy needed clothes. Party dresses, tennis outfits, riding gear. You'd beg your mom to take you to Woolworths, desperate for just one more outfit in its tiny perfect box. These weren't just toys. They were obsessions. You'd wake up on Christmas morning hoping, praying that under the tree was a Dalek or a Cindy doll. Or if you were really blessed, both. If you got it, you were royalty. Every kid on your street envied you. TV wasn't just background noise in the 60s. It was an event. Families gathered to watch together, and what you saw mattered. Doctor Who on Saturday evening became a ritual nobody missed. Thunderbirds on Sunday afternoon was essential viewing. At Christmas, when new episodes played or special toys appeared, it felt like the whole country watched together, sharing the same stories, the same dreams, the same cold living rooms lit by one coal fire and a black and white TV screen. Growing up in Britain during the 1960s meant you didn't need central heating or plastic packaging or endless choices. You had something better. You had family togetherness. You had strength to deal with hardship. And you had Christmases that felt earned, worked for, and completely real.